want to share with you a couple of stories of companies that have made XR or are making XR mainstream. And these are companies that have accomplished great successes using these technologies. And the reason they've had great successes is they almost had no choice, for reasons I'll tell you as we move along. They were obliged to use this technology. There was a real reason to use this technology. They used it. They succeeded tremendously. They lowered costs. They improved customer experience. They made better design. And it's a part of how they do business. It's now a part of their DNA. So let me give you just very, very briefly an overview. So I'm a graduate of University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, and I go up there to help with a couple of doctors that work on using XR for cancer patients, particularly kids. And it's a godsend that the kids can put the VR glasses on, or in this case it's VR, and then kind of understand what the operation is going to be for their oncology, relax, operation's over, explain what happened, put them back on and relax. The kids, it's just been a godsend to have that a part of University of Pennsylvania's medical treatment. There's a neurologist in Orange County, California. I met him 5 years ago. He's a wonderful fella. And this really got me turned on. So when you're a neurologist, it's very difficult because tumors grow in weird ways. They don't just sit on something. They can go underneath and around and through crevices. It's very hard to get the full tumor. That's why you hear it grow back, right? It grows back. But he began to use VR technology at the outset to practice this particular neurological procedure 100 times. He used to say to me, Bart, would you ever get in an airplane where a pilot didn't go to a simulation class? And so he practices like 100 times, and then he goes into the actual operation. He uses AR in that case because he doesn't want to remove his eyes from the operative theater to the screen that shows the microscopic findings. And so he uses both. But this is what he said to me. Using both VR and AR, I've changed my operation approach to this neurological tumors 24% of the time. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd like that doctor to operate on me. Okay, I went recently to a foreign country, and it was in China, just for that matter. And I had my Meta Wayfair smart glasses on. I don't speak a word of Chinese. Everybody I met didn't speak a word of Chinese. I had no problem in China communicating fluently in Chinese because the Wayfair glasses were communicating very effectively either through their Wayfair or through an app. And we had a normal conversation. That's a magic for me. I thought it was anyhow. Honda Motors, based out of California in this country. So all vehicles are designed from the inside out, using Apple Vision Pro. And they do that because they think it's the best device to design. It's the only way they design. And then what they do is they bring in customers to collaborate with that design. And so they not only design quicker, better, more effective, but they design with the customer's thoughts in mind. Duke Energy out of South Carolina has been using VR training since 2018, I think. Oh, it's up? Oh, good. Well, I'm not quite there yet, but I'll get there. Has been using VR training to train 2,000 technicians. That happened as a result of COVID. They had to train substation and voltage line, transmission line people. They couldn't bring them anywhere because of COVID. So they launched this huge VR training program. It's the godsend of how the company does training today. They would never launch an initiative without VR training. And last couple of ones, I'm going to do the IKEA case study out of Sweden. But it's taken customer interaction to an entirely new level. You could use your VR glasses today. You can see the tissue on every single piece of furniture down to the fiber. So I don't know about you, I'm married to an Italian. Blue is not blue, and light blue is not light blue. So she could spend 10 hours on what is black. Well, this brings it down to a color that she can't say anything except, oh, that's the color I want. And then lastly, I wanted to raise Caterpillar, one of our country's icons, or my country's icons. The strategy of that chief executive officer is to lead the construction and mining industries through the use of technology. That's his strategy. And it's amazing how they're using VR, AR, and MR right now to do it. Again, as I'll explain, or at least share with you, all of these companies have these technologies, these XR technologies, as part of the DNA of how they do business. It's not an option. It's not something we might want to think about. They wouldn't dare do anything unless they integrated into it. So that's I just want to share those observations with you. And now, if these wonderful slides work, I'm going to have to go backwards. All hell could break loose, but we'll find out. There we go. That's quite good. Thank you. Okay, so again, I've been around now. I wanted to just mention that for 40 years, what we do is we apply leading edge technologies to global corporations, mostly in the area of sales and marketing and customer service. I cut my teeth in CRM, the customer relationship management, for 20 odd years. And some of my greatest events were right here at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. We filled it up for a couple of years in a row. It's just quite amazing. And then I cut my teeth on these, what I call customer, I think we call them communities, but ExxonMobil and Kraft Foods and AAA, they were all avid users of bringing together different people from, maybe they were engineers or whatever it may be, bring them together so that they could share stories and get together. The last 6 years have been on XR, and that's what I really want to stick with. I gave you some customers. Don't be impressed with them. They're good customers. They're respectful customers. Bottom line, they have the money to try new things. That's really what it boils down to. And they got a lot of money to try new things. And I typically work at a fairly senior level, so sometimes they make the mistake of listening to me. Okay, I want to leave you with three things, though. This is important about me. These are my three little contributions I'd like to leave you with. A couple of months ago, maybe at the beginning of this year, I wrote a new guide called the VR Training Guide. And you can get it online here, through the QR code. But it's just a kind of a roadmap to get you through VR training. I thought the gentleman earlier on did an excellent job, where you could hardly distinguish the cars and told you lots of good stories about safety and so forth. The second thing I want to leave you with is the podcast I have. So I have a podcast called Business Success in the AI Virtual World. I do that with my business partner out of Silicon Valley, Tim Baharin. We've been doing it since February 2023. There's 40 episodes. I can't fit 40 on a slide. I gave you a couple of them. Every one of these companies has successfully applied XR technology to remarkable results. I'm not talking about a 2% cut in costs, and I'm not talking about a 3% lift in customer satisfaction rates. I'm talking substantial, and that's why they do it, because it makes business sense. So I would encourage you not to go to, you can go to the QR code, but look at all 40 of them. I try to pick from all different industries. There's some great ones on health. There's some great ones on both B2C and B2B. But it's like a little library of, they're only, and by the way, I say that because you can print out, we do the podcast and then I write an article. So you can read the articles, they're only 2 pages, but they give you deep insight into some fantastic companies, of which I'm going to talk about IKEA and Volvo. Okay, and the third thing I want to leave you with is our resource center. So Tim and I created that back in, I guess, 2019, because we didn't know a whole lot about this industry, and we wanted to learn. So we write prolifically for many magazines, and so we put our articles in there, and then we went out and we looked at use cases of other companies that are actively involved in XR, and we took what we could and put it in the resource center, and we cut other articles that other people have written, and we put it in the resource center, and we took videos that we could find, there's about 150 of those, and put those in the resource center. And it's a wonderful place just to spend time. I mean, you can spend time where you want, but that's one nice time to kind of learn about some of the things that are happening. Okay, those were my 3 contributions. So let's go. Volvo Group, this is a B2B case study. Just out of curiosity, raise your hands. How many know the Volvo Group? Okay. Volvo Group consists of Volvo trucks. Those are the big diesel, big wheeler trucks, long haul trucks. They are manufacturers of a lot of construction equipment, so all the stuff that you find in various construction sites. And they do quite a bit of work in buses, so buses inside cities. You've seen the Volvo buses maybe. And for us, all of us that are boatsmen, boatswomen, they do a lot with marine, propellers and motors and all kinds of really good stuff. So that's who they are. And what impressed me the most about this company, what impresses me the most about this company, is their motto coming from the very top. And it's a bit Swedish, but it's still, I think it's fantastic. Work hard and be curious. So everything they do, they work hard, but they have these little forms and so forth. They say, I think we could do it better. I'm curious to see if we might be able to pull this off. So that's the company we're dealing with. And I want to just give you some thoughts about how they're putting XR to work at this time. One says they're exploring XR for immersive experiences. By the way, I should mention, they were formed 98 years ago, in 1927. Sales of $552 billion worldwide. 104,000 employees. 18 manufacturing facilities around the world. They sell into 190 markets. Okay? So this is a big one. And in the immersive experience side, they use it for design and testing new trucks and new products that go in the trucks. They use a lot of training, particularly digital twins, to get technicians and designers used to something new that they're trying and new ideas. And it's really been a godsend on that side. And then they have these very extensive consumer virtual showrooms. Trucks are like little toys for little boys, or however the expression goes, but they like to customize it and make it look good and, expresses me and all the rest. These showrooms have become very, very important in how they sell and how they do their business. Second one I mentioned was Volvo's group of AI. So there's really 2 that I want to talk about very briefly. One is supply chain management. We do have a $552 billion company. There's a whole lot of products that are coming into your manufacturing plants, and you got to get that right. You got to nail that. And so they use that a lot, but the most important one is what's called predictive maintenance. When you're a trucker and you own a big fleet or a small fleet, the most important thing is not to have the truck down. Because when the truck is down, meaning it's not working, it's extremely expensive because you're losing all the money in your business. So they use it for predictive maintenance because obviously, and nothing special about this, but they have a predictive maintenance modules inside the truck. And that then allows them to be proactive in telling the trucker, better pull over or bring it into the shop, you got an issue. Okay? So that's been a real godsend for them in terms of making this whole area of AI effective. When we talk about the CE, let's see now, where are we? The keynote. So Martin Lundstreck spoke at the 2025 CES. Now, my buddy Tim and I have been speaking there for the last 5 years, and we love it because the keynotes are brilliantly done. And he's such a wonderful man and such a nice, sweet, easygoing Swede. But he said that what was most important to him was that VR, AR, MR become a part of this entire XR vision. And that he could never run the company again without incorporating those on a daily basis. And he even gave, this was quite bold, I thought, he gave about half of his CES keynote, where in a keynote all hell could break loose. He ran it in VR. He showed all the construction equipment, that's in the fields, in the mines, in the construction sites, that run completely autonomous, all done through VR and some of the XR technologies. And he showed the presentation. There was a guy on stage. You saw everything you saw was through his VR glasses. So it was really very impressive. It just reinforced what he had said. Okay, a couple of small other things. He's very big into sustainability and green technology. And for that, I think I just want to tell you that some examples would be they're using battery electric, they're using fuel cell technology, and they're using combustion engine running friendly fuels. So this is just a part of his vision that in order to sustain your #1 position in the trucking industry, you have to lead it. You can't follow it. And so that's where he's coming from in his sustainability, because that's where the world is at. In terms of product line tech advancements, just a couple of things I want to mention. He chose to become zero emissions by 2040. I think that's a big statement. 25% in 2025, 30% in 30, 35% in 35, and 100% in 2040. And he said something very important, I thought. He said, you don't just do these things. If your entire company is not on board, if you haven't built a coalition across the company, and you think I, as CEO, going to tell everybody, you better do this, you better do that, you better do, they're going to tell me to go take a good, healthy hike. So he spent months preparing his company to adopt this technology, to adopt these technologies, and to become really important in that whole area. And I thought that was a tremendous accomplishment before he launched these initiatives. And I think last but not least is this whole area of their 2030 roadmap. And the only thing I want to say on that is he's very keen to redefine transportation. And he wants everybody that works for Volvo Group to work hard and be curious. He drove this point home on the stage. He said, no truck, let's close the hospitals. No trucks, let's close all the cafeterias. No trucks, let's close all the supermarkets. No trucks, let's close, and he went down this list, and he had it in like spots, and by the end, the entire room was dark. So he's a real believer in all of this, and he believes that he, Volvo Group, should be the leader in transportation, which is going to dramatically change over time because of sustainability and environmental causes. And he just wants everybody to focus on work hard and be curious. So I thought that was a good story, and I love that company, and it's a big one, but boy, look at what they've done in terms of commitment to these technologies. Okay, I want to go to the other extreme, B2C. Now, you might ask me, I could ask myself, I did, Bart, these are two Swedish companies. That's a little bit biased, isn't it? Well, I'm aware of that, and I told you there's lots of podcasts and lots of things, but both of them are such great stories, I couldn't help but use them. I mean, I thought about using Procter & Gamble, for example. It's a great story, too. I thought about lots of so many great stories of, we call it XR magic. But I want you to listen to the story because there's something in it that I just can't get out of my mind, and I'll share it with you. You tell me what you think. So, out of curiosity, how many of you use IKEA Place on your phone? Could you raise your hands? Okay, good. How many of you use IKEA virtual showrooms? Excellent, we got a couple. So the obsession of IKEA is the consumer experience. And if IKEA had its way, it would spend more and more time and more money and more effort getting consumers into the IKEA mindset. So for example, under the technology evolution, they have two themes: innovative products at reasonable prices and customer experience. That's the two foundations of IKEA. They want to explore entire showroom setups. And for the two that have gone, they know what I'm talking about. You don't put this app Place on your phone and walk around and say, oh, I'd like to have this in my room. I'd like to have this. I wonder what it would look like. You design your entire house. And it's brilliant because you can put in, put out. It's really, really quite impressive. So that's another thing that's part of their technology evolution. And what they, if work hard and be creative is the Volvo slogan motto. Their slogan is bridge the gap between imagination and reality. You just imagine what could be in your house and what you like. Let's see how far we can get with IKEA to get you there. And they want to eventually get it to, a zero gap. Okay, so that's that side. When we come to enhancing the shopping experience, this is quite special. So the whole idea is to transform the customer engagement with IKEA. And that happens through VR showrooms, 3D views on every website product, and this complete commitment to making it a wow experience every time you or I get onto the IKEA website or put on VR glasses, etc. When it comes to enhancing product design and development, so here, a couple of things I think are important. The entire IKEA design and development team work together in XR around the world. And what is really cool about that is they can bring in new products, new materials, new colors, new textures throughout the development process. And again, I'll explain this a bit later, but to the level of the fiber that my wife would be happy with, smells and tastes, and 3D sound simulation. So that's pretty cool, I think. When it comes to, let's see, where we are in training, yeah. On the training side, you can imagine that this company is very busy training not only internal people on all of these technologies, but their customers, right? Because that's a big sell. So realistic simulations in store, that's particularly important, or from your house. And that's really the big deal. When it comes to immersive technology, there's one thing that really stood out. So they have AI recommended purchases, obviously. What would fit with what and why it might make sense. But now what they've done is they have allowed you to design your entire virtual showroom with your friends and your family. So they get on there, your friends and family, and they help design it with you. Now, I don't know about you, but I got a 27 and a 25. Every time they move, they say, Ma, what should I put there? Ma, what should I do? Ma, because Mama knows it all. But when my wife got on and she started to use some of these tools, she said, oh my God, this is unbelievable. So imagine designing something that's important to you, but your whole entire family and friends are there. Okay, and last but not least is their AWE presentation. This was actually the innovation manager. And this is where I talk about rooms and products and sound simulations in 3D and touch and smell and taste. So all of that is now a part, either launched or is a part of the IKEA experience. And I would strongly encourage you to try that. Okay, let me wrap up with a couple of observations. So what do all these successful XR, and I just redefined it, initiatives have in common? So every one of them focuses on a unique problem. In the case of, Duke Energy, we have a crisis, we got 2,000 people that need to be trained, safety and many other things. We can't do it. That's a problem. They came up with the solution. All of these companies set a baseline metric. We're here, and they set measurable metrics. We're going to get there in X steps, and they measure. And they measure. This is one that I heard today multiple times. These great companies put stakes in the ground early. Early. Nobody got it right the first time around. They didn't get it right the second time around. It got better. But by putting stakes in the ground early, you get a chance to test and deploy, retest and redeploy. And that's part of being a successful company, in my opinion. Strong executive support, that goes without saying. I gave you the names of two of the key, President, CEO of Volvo and the head of innovation, the design shop. And both of those are that's what they do. They strongly support these initiatives every day. I put two more things down on purpose. All of these companies have a strategy. This is not par hasard. This is well thought through and well executed. And if it comes off track, they go back in and look at the strategy and what went wrong. So they have a clear strategy, a clear mandate. And the last one I've already mentioned a couple of times, they have a DNA. If you tried to rip XR out of the Volvo Group or IKEA, you'd have to close the company down. You couldn't, they can't manage without it, just how they do business. And that's true of every one of the 80 podcasts that I did, and it's true of every one of the various resource center articles, case studies, and so forth. Every one of them has made these technologies a part of their DNA. I think that's a really important message. And if you're not there, you just got to bang away at it. And I mentioned, just for those that might be more technically inclined, some but not all have a common XR platform. John before talked about an AR platform, but there's really not a lot of off-the-shelf XR platforms. A lot of these companies have built their own. Okay, so I just want to mention, when we have the opportunity to work with companies, we come in, we have a 5-step methodology, and we bring it into 2 phases: discovering alignment, where we do executive briefing to get everybody on the same page to help build the executive coalition. We build a business case or some sort of a justification, because that can speak wonders. And then on the second phase, where we're really looking at proof of concept and implementation, we'll build the prototypes. And we'll do the end-to-end implementation with some partners, sometimes on a complex project. And then we'll do VR health checks, because some companies have gotten involved and may not be happy with what they see. I'd encourage you, if you would, to visit the website. And now I would like to open this to any questions you may have. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Really.
I'm sorry to say, I don't think it's one. The pandemic was a great help, because they couldn't do what they were doing before. They had to do something different. I mean, heck, Volvo Group, Volvo Trucks within the Volvo Group, they train 5,000 technicians annually. They had to do it. They launched the new heavy-duty autonomous vehicle that's driving in Texas right now. Nobody knew how to do this, and they couldn't fly them in to look at what the prototypes and everything. They had to do it. So necessity. I think that's definitely, and I really zeroed into COVID-19. But I want to go back before that, because I have many case studies that I know of and have been participating in that started well before 2021. Started in 2016, 2018. And what drove those? Everyone is such a great story. Gucci, the famous fashion brand, it's competitive positioning. It's, I can do better than my competition by using these technologies to lead the game. And all of these companies are either number one in their industry or certainly a close number 2. And nothing riles them more than their competition taking a leap ahead of them. So competitive fever, competitive positioning, however you want to call that. And then I think, and by the way, I was going to do one of these case studies on J.P. Morgan, the big financial insurance company. Jamie Dimon, the president of the company, he, first of all, they have they have a huge budget. I can't remember it's not 12 million, so it has to be $12 billion IT budget. Can't be billion, but it's way up there. He said in 17 or 18, he said, I don't quite know what I'm doing, and I don't quite care, but what I know is J.P. Morgan is known for technology leadership for whatever it is, 100 years. We have to be there. So let's call it curiosity and stupidity. Let's call it both. It's perfectly fine. And then I guess, you know how we all say success breeds success? Once they've jumped into the game and it works, heck, they're going in for deeper and more. So just, you gotta, like I said, you gotta put the stakes in the ground and let it fester and let it build. And if it didn't work, go back and start it again. Doesn't make a difference. Failure is a part of success. Thanks for the opportunity.